background is, whether you're rich or poor, I don't think it's bad to get advice from someone who's used to dealing with contracts when you're 16, 15, 17 years old. Sure. That's not a bad idea.
I can agree to that.
Right?
They'll fix it.
But you got to let these kids, just like you said, we got tennis players, and you got tennis players coming over, golfers coming over from South Korea. They're like 13 years old. They're making tons of money playing golf. They have, in some of those other countries, these kids don't even go to school. They just play sports.
But I'll say this, right? This thing has been on the table long enough that if Ohio wanted to prepare for it correctly, they could have.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of other states who have done it. There's collegiate programs who've done it.
Yeah.
If they really wanted to make this happen, we would say, okay, let's look at what these 6 or 7 other states are doing. But to me, when you have these like lame duck excuses, like we shouldn't even be talking about if they have compliance directors. They should have been saying, hey, it's impossible for all these school districts to hire all these people.
Yeah.
You can't even get bus drivers right now for schools.
Yeah, no, and you're going to hire a compliance director?
Right.
Now, that's a great point.
Walmart, you'd be like, dang, I'm self-checkout.
All right, we're going to talk more about the NIL on the collegiate level as it pertains to Maurice and his situation when he was in college. But right now I want to turn the table to some Browns news. Deshaun Watson is very much in the news cycle, and he's got a very busy week. Later this week, Deshaun is going to meet with NFL investigators about the pending civil cases that are hanging over his head. 22 women accusing him of sexual assault, sexual misconduct. We know that he's was not indicted by 2 different Texas grand juries. They did not recommend charges. So as you look at where we are in the timeline here, guys, and Albert Breer tweeted this yesterday, and I thought very astutely pointed out, it appears that we are close to Judgment Day, because what Albert pointed out in his tweet, and what we've seen this throughout the 15 years or so that we've had the player conduct code. In such investigations, the NFL usually talks to the player last. So this is likely an indication the league is wrapping things up. Next question would be whether or not they make a ruling before there's resolution on the 22 civil cases. And that we have no way of knowing.
Right.
But it appears, guys, that we're closer to the end of this than we are to the beginning. What are your thoughts?
I think this is huge, guys, because one way or the other, whether we think personally Deshaun Watson should be suspended or not, we don't know everything, right? I don't even know, and we've said this before. The only people that know everything are the women and Deshaun Watson. Nobody else knows for sure. But obviously the league, through a year-plus investigation, has more information than we have, right?
Absolutely.
But whatever they decide, whether he doesn't get suspended 4 games, 6 games, 8 games, whatever it is, I think we all would like it to be resolved now, and I certainly think the Browns would like it to be resolved now. So at least as we head towards the season, you can be prepared for whatever it is.
They know who to get ready for week 1. Mike, your thoughts?
I think they're in an impossible situation. They have to act on it now because the season's on hold right now for the Browns, and if they wait until this investigation is over halfway through this year, then
Could be 2 years.
It could be 2 years by then. Here's a quote that I'm going to have a hard time, that I think we're going to have a hard time getting around. Precedent's a damn dangerous thing. And
it is.
Here's this quote. I recognize that the allegations were disputed and that they did not result in criminal charges being filed against you. My decision today is not based on a finding that you violated Georgia law or on a conclusion that differs from that of the local prosecutor. That said, you are held to a higher standard as an NFL player, and there is nothing about your conduct that can remotely be described as admirable, responsible, or consistent with either the values of the league or the expectations of our fans. And that was obviously Roger Goodell to Ben Roethlisberger back when he suspended him for his allegations.
We saw the same thing.
And there were no criminal charges.
We saw the same thing with Elliott.
And how do you do that? How do you look at that and then say, in this situation to Deshaun Watson, you're fine?
He's going to get suspended. There's no doubt about it. Just how many games it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's definitely something coming. Maurice, when you're waiting for a league or a body to make a decision like this, you're really in purgatory. He doesn't know if he's going to have to prepare to play for this season or not. What do you think's going through his mind as he's sitting on the sidelines trying to figure out what his fate is?
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that just going through the NCAA deal, and there's a difference between training and working out. Training, you're getting prepared for something, knowing who you're going to play, knowing when you're going to play, understanding the timing before a season, before something is about to happen, and your mentality is different. Like the training mentality in regards to accomplishing something is quite different than let me go out here and throw some footballs around. Am I preparing? Am I not preparing? I think the NFL is trying to get this over because you just don't want all of these large, embarrassing headlines, right?
Sure.
I think this is more for the brand than Deshaun Watson, or the women. I think that's the bigger thing. Like, let's get this stuff behind us. Let's move on. This
I
is on the
think you're
back
right
of
on
the
that.
Kaepernick stuff. This is the back. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
There's just been large headlines.
Get it out of the news cycle.
Get it out
once
of the
and
news
for all.
cycle.
You're 100% right. That's all they care about. Is the shit.
Yeah,
that's
that's
all
it.
they care about.
Yeah.
Their PR. They don't care about the women. They don't care if Deshaun Watson did it or not. He's 100% right.
Yeah.
They only care about their
It's
their
a business,
PR.
and it's
That's
run
it.
very much like a business.
So watch this. If, say for instance, they go ahead, they get them together, they bring them down here and say, okay, you know, it is what it is. We giving you X amount of games.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is in 2023, when the civil cases come, guess who cares about them? None of us. Everybody's like, well, he already served his
I
suspension.
think there would be interest, but
Not
not
to the-
as it pertains to Watson the player,
No. Right.
No.
as it pertains to Watson the person.
It would be a small footnote, and Deshaun
would be.
Watson is going to do cases, and he's going to go do this.
So what will happen is you'll give him a chance to play. The Browns will win. It's sad to say this isn't my opinion, but nobody will care.
right?
Like
No, you're right.
If he goes out on the field and he lights it up, and the front part of that suspension is done, if those civil cases come back guilty, he'll get a question here or there. But the national narrative will be that Cleveland is back. Cleveland is going to the playoffs. He's leading the
You
way.
know, I wonder if he would get a suspension before the season starts, 4, 6, whatever the game number is, and then loses the civil cases. There's nothing that says the NFL can't come back and throw more suspension on top of it.
Is there any precedent there? Have we ever heard
Not
of
that I'm aware of.
I
Not that I'm aware
think
of.
the NFL Player Association will have something to say about